I never thought I'd be the guy standing in his own living room, staring at a pile of broken trust and feeling the kind of rage that makes your jaw clench and your fists curl so tight your nails cut into your palms. But that's exactly where I am now. Just a few days ago, I proposed to my wife. We'd been together for 6 years and I thought we had our shit together. I'd planned everything: flowers, a ring, a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant. She said yes, she looked happy, and I swear I felt like I was on top of the world. Until I found out everything was just an illusion. It started with little things. She's been acting weird lately for weeks, honestly. She'd brush me off when I asked about her days, her phone kept slipping out of her purse when she'd walk past me, and her scent, her touch, even her smile, everything about her felt different, colder. But I brushed it off. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe I was imagining things. Then yesterday I got home early. I wanted to surprise her, talk about our future. I still remember the moment I first saw her. She was sitting on the balcony, her back to me, staring at something in her hands. I approached quietly, but something about her posture made my stomach tighten. Her shoulders were tense, her fingers trembling slightly, and her face was blank. No excitement, no warmth. Just this vacant look that instantly set off alarms. "Hey, babe," I said softly, trying to catch her eye. She didn't turn around right away, but when she did, her face was pale. Her eyes flickered with guilt, and I caught a glimpse of something shiny in her hand. "Who's that?" I asked, voice dropping. She hesitated, then quickly shoved whatever it was behind her back. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead. "What's going on?" Her lips pressed together, and she looked at me like I was a stranger. "It's nothing," she said, but her voice cracked. I stepped closer, heart pounding. That's when I saw it, a crumpled piece of paper, partially sticking out from behind her. I reached out, grabbed it, and my eyes widened. It was a receipt from a hotel. Not just any hotel, but one I'd never stayed in. The date was yesterday. The time around. The moment I was proposing, my stomach dropped. She looked away, her face flushed. "It's not what you think," she muttered. I clenched my fists so tight my knuckles turned white. "You lied to me. You've been lying for weeks, haven't you?" She finally turned, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's not like that," she whispered. "Please, just listen." But I couldn't listen. My mind was racing, trying to process how someone I loved, someone I trusted, could do this to me. How she'd been sneaking around with her so-called best friend. Our neighbor, the guy who lives 2 houses down. The guy I saw her laughing with at the block party last month, and I thought nothing of it. I've known him for years. Used to say hi when I passed him on the street. Now I realize that was just a cover-up, that they were probably meeting in secret, sharing whatever sick little lies they spun. I felt my chest tighten. My palms were clammy. Honestly, I wanted to scream, to shake her until she told me the truth. How long has this been going on? How many nights did she sneak out? How many excuses did she make just to cover her tracks? Right then, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. The girl I thought I knew, the girl I proposed to, the girl I planned a future with, she was gone. Replaced by this stranger who's been lying to my face all along. And I swear that's when the seed of vengeance started to grow. I didn't want her just to feel guilty. I wanted her to suffer, to regret every second she spent betraying me, because I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. Her tears are still streaming, but I don't care. I need a plan, and I need it fast. I'm not just gonna walk away from this. No, this is about making her see what she's lost, what she threw away for a few moments of stupid, reckless thrill. I got into my car, heart pounding like a drum, and I started thinking about how I'd make her regret this for the rest of her life. It's not over yet, not even close. But first, I need to figure out exactly how deep this betrayal runs and how to make her pay for it. I couldn't sleep last night. My mind kept replaying everything I'd seen and felt. The cold sweat, her trembling voice, the evidence in my hands. It's like my brain was stuck in a loop, each time more vivid, more painful. I kept going over her words, her tears, trying to find some reason, some excuse that could justify this mess. But there was nothing. Just a sick, sinking feeling that she'd been lying to me for months, maybe even longer. Today, I decided I had to act. Sitting around wasn't going to fix anything. I needed details, evidence, a plan. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, not after what I'd seen. The worst part, I still loved her. I still wanted to believe there was some reason behind her actions. But I also knew I couldn't ignore what this meant for us. Trust was shattered, completely. I started by digging into her phone, not in a creepy way, just enough to see where her messages led. That's when I found out she'd been talking to him, her best friend and neighbor, for months. Texts full of flirtation, inside jokes, plans to meet when she thought I was working late. The kind of stuff that makes your stomach turn. I saw pictures of them together, close, smiling like they shared some secret world I knew nothing about. One message made my blood boil. It said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've never felt this alive." I had to read it twice just to make sure. My wife, the girl I proposed to, was planning nights with him behind my back, and I never even suspected. Then I found a folder in her camera roll, photos she never intended for me to see. One was her leaning into him, her face glowing with that stupid fake smile. Another was her hand in his, fingers intertwined. My stomach clenched so hard I thought I'd throw up. How could she look me in the eye and lie so effortlessly? I sat in my car, parked outside her place, feeling the rage bubble up. I imagined walking up to her, handing her the evidence, and watching her try to pretend she was innocent. I knew I had to confront her face to face, but I also knew I needed to be smart about it. No rushing, no screaming, just the truth, plain and brutal. I called her, told her I was coming over. She answered with a trembling voice, pleading, "Please don't do this. I never meant to hurt you." "Really?" I snapped back. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been lying, cheating, and sneaking around behind my back for months." There was silence on the line. I heard her take a shaky breath. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. "It's not what you think. I swear I love you." That was the moment I realized how much I'd been fooled. Love. That girl, the one I proposed to, the one I thought I knew, she was gone, replaced by this stranger who'd been hiding in plain sight. I hung up, sat back in my car, and stared at her window. I felt a mix of disgust and a strange sense of clarity. It was time for me to stop thinking about her as my wife. She was no longer that person. She'd betrayed me in a way that cut deeper than any physical wound could. Now I had to decide what's next. I couldn't just walk away from this. No, I needed to make her feel the consequences of her actions. I needed a plan, something calculated, precise. Something that would make her regret every moment she spent lying to me, betraying me, and turning into someone I don't even recognize. And I knew exactly how I was going to do it. She'd pushed me to the edge, and I wasn't going to just fall quietly. Not anymore. For now, I just sat there, the engine humming quietly, my fists clenched, my mind racing. I'd make her pay for what she did. That much was certain. But I didn't have all the pieces yet. Not quite. I needed to find out how far this went. Who else was involved? What exactly had she been hiding? And once I had that, I'd set my plan in motion. Because she wasn't just cheating, she was destroying everything we built. And I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I was ready to fight. I spent the rest of that day piecing things together, slowly, methodically. I couldn't afford to rush or show my hand prematurely. Every detail mattered. I knew her well enough to realize she'd try to cover her tracks, but I also knew her habits, her routines. That's how I started to build my revenge plan. First, I visited her office to see if she slipped up. She still had her key card, but I found a way to get into her email account without her noticing. I wasn't planning to stalk, just gather enough to confirm what I already suspected. The messages, the sneaking around, the secret rendezvous, they were all there. She'd been hiding things from me for longer than I thought. One email thread with him caught my eye. They had plans for tomorrow, another secret meetup. I felt my stomach twist. She was planning to see him again just hours after I proposed. That's when I really saw how deeply she'd gone into this lie. I kept calm, but the thought of her with him, touching him, sharing her body with him while I was thinking about our future made my skin crawl. I didn't want her to know I was watching, not yet. I had to be patient. I had to set the perfect trap. Later that evening, I went to our place. I had a plan to catch her red-handed. I knew she'd try to hide her tracks, so I rigged the bedroom with a hidden camera. Not to be creepy or invasive, just enough to catch her in the act. I wanted proof she couldn't deny. I tucked the tiny device into a corner near her favorite spot on the bed. This would be my ace in the hole. While I was setting things up, I kept thinking about how much she'd changed. The girl I married used to be caring, honest, and open. Now she was a stranger, lying and sneaking behind my back. I could feel the burn of fury in my chest. I clenched my fists so hard I thought I'd break something. This wasn't just about betrayal, it was about the fact that I'd been so blind, so naive. Later, I waited in the living room. It was quiet, the kind of silence that feels loud. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, trying to steady my nerves. I kept thinking about what I'd say, how I'd confront her once I had all the evidence. I wasn't going to give her the upper hand this time. No, this was my move. Then at around 10 p.m. I saw her door open. She tiptoed in, looking around nervously. She was clutching her purse, trying to act casual like she wasn't just coming home from a clandestine meeting. That's when I pressed the record button on the camera. I wanted everything on tape, the lies, the betrayal, her attempt to cover her tracks. She didn't see me sitting in the dark corner. I watched her move across the room, her face tense. Her phone buzzed and she quickly silenced it. She took a quick shower and I saw her glance at the mirror. She was trying to look innocent, trying to erase the guilt from her face. I saw right through her. When she finally went to bed, I played back the footage. Her every move, her every lie. I knew then I had enough to go to the next step. I was ready to confront her, to make her see the mess she'd created. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming what she'd stolen from me, my trust, my respect, my life as I knew it. Tomorrow, I'd be sitting face to face with her. I'd show her everything I'd uncovered, and I'd tell her exactly what I planned to do. Because I don't want her to just feel guilty. I want her to understand that her actions have consequences, that she's not going to get away with this. I took a deep breath, poured myself another shot, and stared at the footage one last time. No more hiding, no more secrets. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Her lies are about to unravel, and I'm going to make damn sure she regrets ever betraying me. One thing's for sure, I'm not going to be the guy she walks all over anymore. The next morning, I woke up feeling like my bones were heavy with lead. My head was pounding from the whiskey, but my mind was sharper than ever. I knew today was the day I'd finally put everything into motion. No more waiting, no more pretending I didn't already know. I had the evidence, the plan, and the resolve to see it through. I waited until she left for work, timing it so she wouldn't suspect anything. I grabbed the envelope I'd prepared with all the evidence, screenshots, the footage, the receipts, everything. I wrote a simple note on it. Don't come home until you've thought about what you've done. We need to talk, me. I sealed it tight and slipped it under her windshield wiper. Then I texted her, playing it cool. We need to talk when you get home, it's serious. I wanted her to panic a little, to realize I wasn't going to let her slide this time. Once she was gone, I made my way to her favorite coffee shop, where I'd arranged to meet her best friend, the neighbor she'd been cheating with, later that afternoon. I knew him well enough to know he'd be there, just like he always was, like nothing had changed. I wanted to see his face when I confronted him, to see if he'd realize what he'd lost. I sat in a corner, my stomach twisting with anticipation. The place was familiar. The smell of roasted beans, the hum of casual chatter, the clink of cups, everything felt normal, but I was anything but. My mind was racing through every possible move, every possible outcome. He arrived a little early, looking nervous. His eyes darted around and he hesitated before walking over. I kept my tone even, but I made sure my words hit hard. You and her been seeing each other for a while, huh? I started casually, but with an edge that made him stiffen. He stared, caught off guard. Look, man, I don't want any trouble. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I shook my head slowly. You didn't mean for it, that's rich. You've been sneaking around behind my back for months, sharing her nights, lying to my face. He swallowed hard. It's not what it looks like. I care about her, I do, but I didn't want to hurt you. I leaned forward. You already did. You're both two lying, selfish pieces of shit. And I've got everything documented. Every message, every secret rendezvous, every damn lie. He looked down, guilt washing over his face. I didn't want to lose her. She's the best thing I ever had. Oh, please, I spat. You think she's some innocent victim. She's been planning this just like you. That's why I'm here, to let you both know I've got the proof, and I'm not going to let this slide. His eyes widened. What are you going to do? I smiled coldly. You're going to think about the damage you've caused, because I have plans, big ones, and trust me, I want her to regret every second she thought she could cheat and lie her way out of this. My voice was calm but deliberate. You're going to wish you never crossed me. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he knew better. I had him cornered and I wasn't planning to back down. I pulled out my phone, showed him the recordings I'd made last night. His face blanched. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Tell her I know," I said softly. "Tell her I've got everything. And tell her she's not walking away from this clean. Because she's not anymore." He nodded slowly, defeated. I watched him leave, his shoulders heavy, like a man carrying a load he couldn't bear. I felt a strange satisfaction knowing I'd set him up to fall just as hard as her. I turned my attention back to the house, knowing she'd be home soon. The moment I'd been waiting for was almost here. I was ready to confront her face to face, to show her that I wasn't the naive fool she'd thought I was. That she'd pushed me into a corner, and I was about to make sure she paid every price for her betrayal. When she finally pulled into the driveway, her face was tight, like she'd been crying or maybe just pretending. I was standing right there waiting. She saw the envelope on her windshield, her eyes flickering with confusion and fear. "Come inside," I said calmly, voice ice cold. "We have a lot to talk about." She hesitated, then slowly approached. Her hands trembled as she reached for the envelope. I could see the panic in her eyes. That's when I knew I'd caught her, and I was finally ready to make her understand that her lies had consequences. This was only the beginning. She hesitated at the door, her fingers trembling as she reached for the envelope I'd left. I stood there, watching her every move with a kind of cold detachment I'd never felt before. My heart was pounding, not from anger alone, but from the strange clarity that came with knowing I finally had the upper hand. She looked at me with wide, guilty eyes, like she was trying to find a way out, but I didn't give her that chance. I just kept my arms crossed, waiting patiently. "Open it," I said softly, voice steady but firm. "Everything in there, all the proof you need." Her shaky hands fumbled with the envelope, and I saw her take a deep breath before slowly tearing it open. She pulled out the papers, the screenshots, the videos, all the sordid details that confirmed everything I'd suspected. Her face went pale as she stared at the evidence, the truth laid bare. "You lied," I said, voice low. "You lied to me about everything. About where you were, who you were with, what you've been doing behind my back. How could you?" Her lips trembled. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was confused. I didn't want to hurt you." "Don't," I cut her off sharply. "You already did. You've been betraying me for months, probably longer. You've been sneaking around with him, with your so-called best friend, the guy next door." Her shoulders sagged, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want it to happen. I swear, I don't even recognize myself anymore. I don't know when I lost myself." I took a step closer, feeling the anger seeping through my veins. "You lost yourself the minute you decided lying was easier than being honest. The minute you decided I wasn't enough. You think you can just come back and pretend nothing happened." She looked down, her voice choked. "Please, I love you. I never wanted to hurt you." "Love," I scoffed. "That's funny, because love doesn't involve sneaking out at night, hiding things from your husband, and sharing your body with someone else while I'm planning our future. You destroyed that." Her tears intensified. "I'm sorry, I was stupid, I was weak. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I swear I never meant to hurt you like this." I felt my jaw tighten. I'd heard enough. I pulled out my phone, unlocking it with deliberate slow motion. "You see all this?" I asked, showing her the footage I'd taken, her sneaking into the house, the lies she'd spun, her face trying to act innocent. "This is the real you, not the girl I married. She's gone, replaced by a liar who's not worth my trust." Her eyes widened as she saw herself on the screen, caught in the act. "Please don't do this," she begged. "I already did," I said quietly. "You've pushed me to the edge and I'm done. I can't keep living in this lie." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the keys to our house. My hands weren't trembling, just steady. "You can keep whatever you want from this house. I want the keys back. I don't want to see you again, not until you've had time to think about what you've done." Her face crumpled and she reached out, desperate. "Please, I'll change. I'll do anything. Just don't throw everything away." I backed away, my voice cold and final. "No, you threw everything away long before I found out. I'm done playing your fool. You're free to go forever." With that, I handed her the keys, watching her stumble back, tears streaming down her face. She looked at me, trying to say something, but no words would come. I knew she'd regret this, but I'd regret it even more if I stayed. I'd lost her, yes, but I was gaining my dignity back. That was the only thing worth saving now. As she left, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with emptiness. The house suddenly felt colder, lonelier. But I also felt lighter, like I'd just broken free from a nightmare I'd been living for far too long. I closed the door behind her, locked it, and finally sat down on the couch. I looked around at the empty space she'd once filled with her presence, her laughter, her lies. I knew it was over. Not just the relationship, but the illusion I'd held onto for so long. And honestly, it hurt like hell. But I also knew I survived. I'd taken my power back. That's what mattered now. The lesson. Be honest with yourself. Trust is fragile, and when it breaks, the only way to move forward is to cut the poison out completely. The house felt eerily silent after she left. I sat there for a long while, staring at the door she just walked out of, feeling this strange mixture of emptiness and relief. It was like I'd been holding my breath for months, maybe years, and finally I'd broken free from the weight. My hands still trembled a little, but my mind was clear, sharper than it had been in a long time. I knew this wouldn't be easy. There'd be nights when loneliness hit hard and I'd question whether I'd made the right choice. But deep down, I also knew I couldn't keep living in that fog of lies anymore. I'd always believed in honesty, in loyalty, and her betrayal shattered all that. No matter how much I loved her, I couldn't ignore what she'd done, not anymore. I took a deep breath, feeling a slight ache in my chest. I finally stood up, walked to the front door, and locked it. Not just the physical lock, but a mental one too. I had to move on. Not because I wanted to forget, but because I had to rebuild, trust myself again, trust that I could be whole without her. I gathered her belongings, packed them into a box, and set it by the door. No need to drag this out. I wanted to close that chapter as cleanly as possible. Then I pulled out the deed, the legal papers, and signed the separation agreement. It was a small act, but it symbolized me taking control of my life once more. I handed the papers over to a lawyer, and in that moment I decided I'd never look back. As I watched her drive away, her figure shrinking in the rearview mirror, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: empowerment. Yeah, it hurt like hell to see what we'd lost, but I knew I was better off without the lies, without the betrayal. Later that evening, I sat outside on the porch with a cigarette, listening to the distant sounds of the neighborhood winding down. It was quiet, peaceful even. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was finally taking control of my life. I'd been a fool, yes, but I was also a survivor. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this. Trust is fragile. When it's broken, the only true way to heal is to be honest with yourself, to cut out the poison even if it hurts. I also learned that revenge isn't about hurting others, but about reclaiming your power, about saying, I won't be betrayed and left to pick up the pieces. So here's my advice for anyone going through something similar. Don't doubt yourself. Don't wait for someone else to fix what they've broken. Get the evidence. Be prepared to walk away, because no one deserves to live in a cage of lies. And if you're the one who's been betrayed, remember, your worth isn't defined by their lies. You're stronger than that. I closed the door behind me and took a long, steady breath. It was over, and for the first time in a while, I felt free.